Thank you all for joining. We've got half a dozen questions so far. And again, if anyone on the call has any additional questions, please let us know. We'll be happy to address those as well. So hopefully now that our weather's gotten nice, maybe not today, it hasn't gotten so nice, but overall, the spring's been very nice. And so hopefully you had a chance to get out and enjoy your cars. But I think we'll start in the state of Connecticut. Les Roberts, I saw you on a minute ago. You still on, Les?
I'm still on, Pete.
Oh, there you are up top there. Yeah, sorry about that. So you want to, so here's a question regarding his fuel sending unit. Does it make a difference if it is installed with the terminal for the wire to the fuel gauge facing the front of the car or the rear of the car? Anyone have any experience with fuel gauges that work properly? Now that's probably 50% of the people on this call, Les, our fuel gauges don't work properly.
I know that, and I just sent off my fuel gauge to get it reconditioned and calibrate it to make sure that's not the problem. I do have a small leak in the gas tank fuel sending unit, and I was wondering, I'm going to take it out and reinstall it, and but I was wondering if it made any difference which way. Right now it's facing forward because the wire is going forward, so that made the most sense. But it is a round gasket, and it looks like it could go either way.
Right. Now, do you have a reproduction sending unit, Les, with a plastic?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Nissinger is going to tell you that if you have a gasket, you could put it on either way.
That's Robert. What I would think. It would look like the round gasket and the holes line up either way. But I didn't know if there was.
I had my gauge redone just in the last few months, my big Healey, and that's what they told me.
Either way, yeah. Okay. That's what it looks like. I just didn't know if there was anything inside the tank that would restrict the float because the swing arm has a bend in it and it goes a certain way.
One comment I would make, there is no such thing as a small leak. Don't let a leak. It's a closed compartment with a battery in it. Just get it tight. I replaced mine recently, and I think mine, if I remember correctly, goes forward. But I know the hole is forward, so I backed it up into my barn with a rear, what do you call it? It's the boot, right?
Yep, the boot, yep.
The boot up and the cover off and let it sit there for a half an hour to make sure there was no leak, because with the gas pressing on it with a full tank, but pressing on it, because I think it's just too dangerous to have any sort of leakage back there.
Right. What I've found in the past is that if you change the unit out, you better not have a full tank, because otherwise you're going to get a lot of splashing out and it's going to be hard to get.
Yeah, you fill it and then do it.
And so you don't find out if it leaked until you go to the gas station and fill it up and see then what happens. It's,
that's why you have a can of gas to do the last 3 or 4 gallons. It's just, and Moss Motors sells a pretty good, well, I got I'll try to make this short. I had an old, my car when I bought it, the unit was froze up because it had been sitting 7 years. So, well, anyway, I freed it up and it worked fine until it broke. And then I already had a new unit. I put that in, and Moss Motors sells a really good gasket seal, and it comes with a really good gasket, a nice thick gasket.
Yes, I have that.
And was it the cork gasket, Alden? Was it the cork gasket or was it a rubber gasket?
I have both, and I use the rubber.
Okay.
I think you could use either, but the sealant they send is they have for sale. And like Moss Motors, it isn't cheap, but it looks good and it seems to work.
Okay.
Right.
I'm not sure if any of those follow Rich Chrysler. He was the interior specialist, and he posted on Facebook yesterday or today showing an example of where gas had leaked out of the top of the tank on a big Healy, and showed what it did to the interior lining. It shrunk it dramatically and distorted it. This happened to be a green one, and obviously green was a very rare color on hundreds for that interior matting. And it was amazing what the gas did to it. So it's a good point. You don't want to get any gas in your boot
None,
like that.
zero.
Yep.
Agreed.
But the way to check it is get the tank full right after you do the job. And you might cheat a little bit if you have a gas station right close to you. But then back it up an incline so that there's pressure on it.
Okay,
And
thank
you
you.
watch it for a while. It'll leak pretty fast if it's going to leak.
Anyone
Very
else
good,
have any
thank you.
things they'd like to add as it relates to Les's challenge? Okay, well, thank you all for that advice. So Ted Stanton's got a question regarding his trafficator, the wiring that, and you said perhaps a question about rough running on a BN4. Ted, do you have a new car?
No, it's a friend's car.
Oh, okay.
But let me start with the trafficator. I get a little bit of a backstory on it. For the last couple of months, I had an issue where if I took a corner, the steering would jam a little bit, so I had to force it. And because I was on a corner, I had to force it to complete the turn. And then the whole trafficator would rotate. So I would loosen the onion bolt, straighten it up, and tighten it up again, and it'd be okay for a while. And then it happened repeatedly. So what I did, I took the nut off the end of the shaft and
Yep.
pulled the trafficator out, and a little tiny pebble fell out, about the size of a BB. So that would get jammed in there when I turned and cause the whole rotator the whole trafficator to rotate. So that was, I think I solved that problem. But when I put the trafficator back in, I now have no turn signals. So I guess my question is the electrical connection in the trafficator. I'm a little bit hesitant to fool around with that because it's like a Swiss watch, you know. I might have to bring it back up to Bob Abbott to put back together again. But so I guess I'm curious about the connection, wire connection, and the trafficator end of that.
So Ted, when you loosened up that olive nut, did you disconnect the wiring?
No, I didn't have to because there was enough slack I could pull it out
Okay,
enough. And I pulled it out maybe 4 inches or so.
okay.
But when I pulled it out, could I have messed up the wires that are attached to the trafficator in some way?
You
Bob
might have
Abbott, any
shorted them
suggestions for
out.
Ted?
You might have shorted them out.
Yeah, but on which end, the trafficator end or the olive end?
Yeah, when you were pulling the nut off and whatever, and even by the rotating, when that shaft was rotating, it could have cut into the wires. Or you could have blown a fuse if that had happened.
No fuse. I mean, there's only 2 fuses in it.
Right, that's what I do.
Yeah,
In both the fuses are good, Ted?
Yeah. Well, the
Okay.
horn works, so that one's good. And the
Okay.
other fuse is for everything else. And everything else is okay. But I was just a little hesitant to fool around with the trafficator end of that thing.
Bob Abbott, any recommendations for Ted?
You're right, it is sort of like a Swiss watch. The wires on the end of a factory harness have little eyelets on them. And it's certainly possible that just pulling the trafficator out 4 inches, popped one of those wires, popped the hot wire off. You know, there are 4 wires that go up in there. One carries current up, the other carries the ground for the horn, and then 2 for the directions, whichever direction you're turning. So it's possible that that wire's off, but if that had happened, I would have expected that it would have shorted against the stator tube and you'd have had a fuse problem. So um, I guess I would start by checking whether the wire has power right in front of the radiator there where they all plug into the main harness.
Yeah,
See whether the green wire has power to it.
okay, I can do that.
If it does, then turn for a, move the trafficator to a left-hand turn and see whether the power is getting back down to the left-hand wire.
All right.
And if it's not, you're gonna have to take the trafficator apart.
Yo, I might have to come up and see you, Bob.
Well, it says it's going out of business.
Oh, man.
I've got a trafficator problem also, if you'd like to hear it.
Sure, Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm new to the club, so.
Thank you.
my name is
Thanks for
Rich.
joining.
I was here a couple times back, but I didn't get a chance to get on. But anyway, my trafficator, I've got the telescopic steering wheel. And when I pull a telescopic steering wheel up, the trafficator shaft comes up, and the trafficator is up higher than the wheel is. When I push the wheel back down, the trafficator stays out, and I have to manually push it back into the center of my steering wheel. Why is there a way to tie that down or something? So it's
Yes, there is. If you look at the hub of your steering wheel very carefully, down below where the spokes are, or forward of where the spokes are,
yeah.
you will find 3 small grub screws. In other words, a small screw without a head on it. And they have a point on the other end. And when you push the trafficator all the way into the steering wheel, there's a plate down there that goes with it. And then when you tighten the screw in, it will grab the back of that plate and keep the plate coming out and going back in when you move the steering wheel back and forth.
Okay, so when tightening those 3 bolts or 2 bolts over there, it will all go in uniform. The wheel and the trafficator will move back and forth.
Correct.
Okay,
If it's not, you may have to loosen the screws first.
okay,
And they're a little fiddly if you get them, if they come out, but a small
Okay.
screwdriver and you'll be able to get them back in, but you may have to loosen them and push down and hold the plate there while you tighten the screws so that the screw will catch the back of the plate. or
okay,
the side of the plate towards you, and that's
Yeah.
what carries the plate back down when
All right.
when you push the wheel back.
So they're not Allens, they're
Well,
standard.
they're slotted screws,
Okay,
but they just don't have any head on them. So the slot is right in the shaft of the screw.
okay, very good. Thank you.
So Rich, it's probably best not to utilize that telescopic function of your steering wheel. I would recommend leaving the steering wheel where it is all the way down and don't use it as a telescopic wheel.
Yeah. But sometimes when you go to get out of the car, you pull on the wheel a little bit, it'll come up, So
Understand?
never gonna stay in one spot, but yeah, I understand. Yeah, I
It's
would
just
do
one
that.
of those things that it was designed originally to do that. But, considering the age of these cars, it's probably better to minimize any movement you have there.
Okay,
And so then there is what Bob explained to you. There's also, and Ted brought up, there's a long tube. It's called a stator tube that
yes.
goes down inside the that shaft.
And there's a nut on the end of it.
And we've seen those break before.
Mhm.
And we've seen instances with where that olive nut down the very bottom of the steering box will loosen up. So there's a lot of things that can happen there that it's best to avoid.
Okay.
Great.
I have another question, but if somebody else has one,
Or why don't we, since we're on trafficators, Ted, anything else you'd like to discuss regarding your trafficator?
I'll check out what Bob recommended, but if those are dead, if they have no power, and I do need help, can I just, does Bob need a stator tube, or I just pull the wires out and bring a trafficator up with the wires hanging, or?
No, you can just bring the trafficator up with the wires hanging.
Okay. All right.
So, Bob, will a trafficator from a 6-cylinder work on Ted's 100?
As long as it's a non-adjustable steering wheel, yes.
Okay,
And the knob, the little hook will be different. The
yeah, I know
knob
the
that
hook's
you
different, yeah.
move, the hook will
Right.
be different.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, Ted, I do have a spare trafficator, but it's for a 6-cylinder.
Okay.
My 100 has a later stator tube and assembly in it, because I can tell by the little knob on it. So
The switch to the signal switch.
yeah, it's chrome instead of the little black thing. Yeah.
All
You're gonna let that secret out, Ted, huh? Ted Cryer.
right.
Yeah, I'm not going to mess with the stator tube if everything works.
That's right.
Did that once. Yeah.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
You got it.
Okay. So Rich, you said you had another question?
Yes, I ran into this problem. I have a positive ground. I had the car rewired and it's keeping it positive ground. But the tack wasn't working. So I called somebody to get a used tack. They didn't have ones, but they referred me to this company who rebuilds tacks. And I guess they rebuild all English gauges. Nissinger.
Yeah, Neisinger. Yep, that's who Robert was talking about earlier. So they're the premier guys for restoring all your gauges.
Okay, and they're in New York.
They are.
Nissinger told me that I've got the solid state tack and you can't use it as is. You have to convert it to what he said, solid state.
Well, do you have Petronics in there, Rich?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
Positive ground Petronics.
Okay.
So I
That's the
have to-
important part.
So I have to convert it to a solid state. Is that I think that's what he said.
Well, they'll convert that tack for you because
Yeah, they will for $295. They will.
that's true.
I know.
But you put in Petronics,
I did.
right? So that's why you have to do that. Your tack,
Okay.
your standard tack will not work.
Right. Okay, so that's good to know, because if I'd have gotten a hold of this guy, had a used one, I would have bought a used one. It would have been no good.
I just had that done because we put in a Petronics, and we talked about it last time, and on your advice a month ago, I sent mine off. They said it would be 2.5 weeks. It came back within a week.
Nice.
The usual charge, but they did a very good job and it works fine.
Good.
They do beautiful work.
Yeah.
I've
I'll have to
never
get-
ever heard anyone complain about their work. No, some
Yeah.
people may not like the price, but their work
I
is
just had
outstanding.
Messenger, 2 gauges for my bug eye I had that I got with the car, the fuel gauge and the combination gauge. And they were the worst gauges I've ever seen. Mine, the chrome was rusty, the glass was scratched. Inside, they looked bad, everything at back was rusted. I thought, geez, they're going to restore these? And I got them back about a week or so later, and they look like brand new. It's incredible. They're like, I just couldn't believe they were the same gauges, but they are. They're the original gauges, the correct ones for my car. So I was thrilled to see them.
Yep.
I did the same thing. And I paid $600 and something to get that deal done. But it's, it's worth every cent. And you talked me into the upgrade in case I ever do the electronic
Two gauges
ignition.
were just under $400, I think.
Yeah. I paid the rush fee.
Oh.
Well, what's better is I paid the rush fee and then sat on it for 6 months. So
So those of you who have been on these calls for a bit, so the great news is Alan has his Sprite running now. He came over the other day with his lovely wife and the car looks great. It's running well. He does have some questions tonight still, but obviously Alan, when he bought his car on eBay, he had a number of challenges with it, and through the help and support of many people on this call, Alan's got his car running now and it's going well.
Good.
So, so those of you who have been on these calls for a bit, so I just, the great news is Alan has his Sprite running now. He came over the other day with his lovely wife and the car looks great. It's running well. But Alan's got his car running now and it's going well. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
so
Hey,
Alan, look at that. I got your question up next.
Oh, perfect.
I had one other question I want to run by people. But
Okay, go ahead, Ted.
Well, we have a local friend here who has a BN4 that she inherited from her father. That's been restored beautifully.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Where's she
Vic-
been? We haven't seen
Well-
her in about 5 years.
Yeah, I know.
Victoria, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So it ran, from what I understand, well last year, but this year it runs terribly. It won't go over 1500 RPM. It sputters, it breaks down, it runs terribly. And there's been multiple rotors and caps put on, and then plug wires. The carbs, I believe, or the distributor, I believe, was rebuilt, and the timing is checked. Everything seems to check out. In fact, we even disconnected the exhaust pipe, thinking that maybe the exhaust was blocked, and it wasn't. So we're kind of running out of ideas as to what could possibly be the issue. And I don't know if the timing skipped a tooth or what, the chain, but we're running out of ideas. I was wondering if anybody had what else should we check?
What is the car doing?
It sputters. It will not go over 1500 RPM if you can keep it running.
Does it run well at low RPMs?
No.
How about the vacuum advance?
Well, I understand the distributor's been rebuilt, so
Yeah, but
it
the
should be
vacuum,
okay.
the vacuum advance, just test it and suck on it and see if it holds.
Yeah,
I don't,
that's a simple check. We can do that.
yeah.
Bad gas.
I had that problem with one of my Healey's back years ago.
We hadn't thought about bad gas, but we did put starting fluid, and it doesn't seem to help. Or the other thing I did too was to check for a vacuum leak. I brought my little propane tank over, and while I was running, I kind of, without it being lit, I kind of played it around the fuel system, and I don't see any sign of a vacuum leak. So,
Did she put speed bill or anything in it before she stored it?
I'm sorry. Oh,
She-
I don't know.
Yeah, do you know how much gas is in the tank, Ted?
I don't know. I was not the one doing the work on it, so I'm not familiar. I offered to go over and give moral support, and
How'd that work?
not very good.
How about the fuel filter? Have you checked the fuel filter?
John, that's a good point. Yeah.
That's a good point. Not
So
to my
does it
knowledge.
have an SU pump still on it? Do you know, Ted?
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, that might be one reason why we haven't seen her lately. But I'm not sure she's a club goer too,
Yeah, I don't think she's renewed her membership. See, that's why the car won't run.
So if it had skipped a tooth, would that also we put a timing light on it, and the timing light was jumping all over the place. It was sparking, but not at regular intervals. It would spark a couple of times and not spark, not spark. So I don't know. It looked like the timing was okay, but it looked like it was sparking at the right time when it sparked.
Bob's raised his hand, Ted.
I'm sorry?
Bob has raised his hand.
Okay.
Bob Abbott.
Yeah, I raised my hand. I was
Yes.
scratching my head.
No, look at the little white hand you raised.
And I would look for a bad ground inside the distributor.
Inside the
It seems to
distributor.
spark sometimes, and sometimes it, then the spark goes away momentarily.
Yeah.
I would look carefully in the distributor, paying careful attention to the little black wire that grounds the plate where the
The rotor.
condenser,
Okay.
screws down to, and that wire goes from the plate over to the side of the distributor. Those little wires are very, very thin, and they're covered in a black
Yeah.
cloth wrapping. And if
Right.
it goes bad, or if it's missing, and I just had a car in the shop, a beautiful 100, nicely restored, that ran for crap. And it took us days to figure out, or it took us a day to figure out that the wire was broken. It looked
Right.
fine. It was there. It was tight on the ends, but it was broken in the middle. I had to pull the wires and do a continuity test on them. And that was exactly what it was doing. The spark would be there and it would go away. And then you'd have spark
Right.
again and it would go away. And you try to rev the thing up, and as the RPMs happened and the advance kicked in, it would disconnect the spark and disconnect the broken wires, would pull apart, and the spark would go away and it wouldn't go over 2,000 RPM.
Really? Well, that sounds very familiar with what this car is doing. Be a good thing to check.
Look at it very, very carefully.
If it works, there's $1,000 right there.
Yeah.
You just paid for your
Do you have to
your
take the wire
membership.
out? Do you have to take the wire out to check for continuity, or can you do it while it's there? While it's installed?
No,
I've had the same experience in a entirely different context on a boat, where on a hoist with a long control wire, and I thought the switch was bad. And I replaced the switch. It was all kinds of trouble to do it and get it connected right. And it turned out the wire was bad. And the only thing you could do is run a continuity check. And even that might not work, because you'll have continuity if it's intermittent. But that's
Yeah.
not uncommon. It's rare, but when it happens, it's really baffling when you have a bad wire that the connections are good at the end.
Yeah. That sounds like a real possibility. We'll definitely check that.
So
Have you
Bob, is there a
swapped
way
out
to bypass that? Like with
Yeah.
alligator clips?
Yeah, you could run a shunt through there. It'd have to be a very small one to have the cap back on and everything.
Yeah,
You-
right.
You could run a little alligator type clip and a soft wire and check it that way. But look at that wire very carefully.
Okay, we'll do.
Have you swapped out the coil?
Yes, multiple coils, yeah. It's a puzzler, I'll tell you. I think Bob Abbott, might-
Yeah, I think you got something, but I'd also look at the fuel too. Fuel goes bad in these cars pretty quickly.
yeah,
Oh, the other thing that burned me once was the battery turn-off switch, and I think
Right.
it's in the trunk. The wire leading to that, I had that really flaky and disabled me, couldn't go anywhere, but the car would start and run, and that I just couldn't go anywhere. And it was that wire, little wire that goes to the ignition, I think.
really, wow.
Was it the wire or a terminal?
It was the wire itself going right to that switch. Actually, I saw it on a Rolls Royce once, so
Yeah.
same thing. Yeah.
How'd you find that? How'd you find the question of that? Continuity check or?
I would take the wire off and clean it up and just put it back in there.
Yeah, but how did you find out that that was the problem?
I forget how it drove me crazy for about a week, and I couldn't even drive the car, but I could start it, then I
Yeah.
couldn't drive it.
All right,
So it was kind of similar. It would run at a low speed, but once I tried to go anywhere, it was just,
bogged down.
yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, great. So Alan, you're on deck.
Beautiful.
You're ready. Yeah, you want to give us
Yeah.
some of your thoughts?
So I got some rapid fire questions for the team. First one, an easy one, hopefully. I have to get a new convertible top for this, and I'm looking for one with the rear window zipper kind of thing. So when you put it on, you can turn it into almost like a bimini type of top. Is there any preferred convertible top vendors?
So Alan has a Mark IV Sprite, like he's got behind you. It's a 66 or 7 Mark IV Sprite. So look now, I'm not sure anyone makes those. Is that something you'd have to have your upholsterer, put that in for you, Alan?
Alan, does that car come with a fold down top to begin with?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, it has
Yeah.
a convertible top, Robert.
I mean, the back window, does the window fold down? Is
No.
that, yep,
It's not like, your BJ8.
yeah, no. Okay,
But I have seen people go to an upholsterer and put in a zipper.
sure, oh, yeah.
I've got a friend of mine in the UK that's done that, his car.
And I saw, I was looking on the internet, and so some company, I think Prestige, somebody on on eBay, who makes tops, had one advertised, and I just thought I'd ask the group if there was a preferred, convertible top guy.
Yeah, they're not easy to make. I took my top off. I had to have the back window re-sewed because it was so old, the threads were coming apart. And the guy that sewed it, he did not a great job actually, because it was very hard to do. So if you could find somebody that offers one that's already made and they know what they're doing, you're ahead of the game.
Okay. All right. No problem. All right. So moving forward, hopefully this is an easy one. So it turns out this car's got a push button windshield washer mechanism, right? It's manual. And my question is, how do you bleed that? It has all like air. I installed it, and it's got air, bubbles in all the lines. And I try to suck that stuff through, and it is nasty. I couldn't get that going. I was just wondering.
It hasn't worked since 1968.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that old. I mean, it's a brand new tank. The car didn't even have it. This is a Moss special, container that they sell. But the windshield wiper fluid it's worse than gas. So I just wondering, is there a way to bleed that somehow? Is there a trick? I guess is what I'm asking.
It should just work when you push it. That should do it. So how many guys here on the line have ever pushed that button that's on their windshield to actually try to clean their window?
Zero.
Most of us don't put any fluid in it at all, and we just keep the jar clean so it looks nice when you put up your hood.
There you go. I think that was Pete's recommendation the other day when I saw him, and so I'll just take that as a yes. That's good enough. I'm
I
not
used to
gonna
use it to turn the nozzles to squirt people on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Although I have heard just recently that a guy tried to get his car inspected, and because it came with the windshield washer, they wouldn't pass the inspection with that.
Don't go to that inspection station ever.
Ever again.
Was that in Massachusetts, Bob?
Yes.
Oh my
it was a
God.
Massachusetts guy, and he said, I can't get it inspected because my windshield washer didn't work. He just bought the car. He bought it out of state, and he's having a problem with it. Although he did call me today and tell me that he did get it working. I think if I was trying to bleed the windshield washer system, I would take my air hose at your bottle, take the cap off the bottle, and use a rag in there, and then put some air pressure in there and blow the water through, or the windshield washer fluid through.
With a compressor. You have a compressor, Alan?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I would just try to do that.
Okay.
And once you blow it's going to fill up the reservoir in the pump with the knob. It'll just run through there.
Yeah.
It's just one-way valves, and moving the water through with air pressure will not hurt anything.
All right. That sounds great. It's better than trying to suck it out through your nostrils. All right. Perfect. So next question is, and Pete, you have a picture that I sent you. Some pictures. If you could show the snaps, the snap picture.
Let me see if I can find that.
Yeah.
Again, I had my computer rebooted.
Okay, no problem. If it comes, so here's the problem I'm doing with this car. I've never seen one of these cars that works, right? So I don't have a point of reference. So this car has the convertible top. You pull it over. When you look at the very top of that where you pull over the convertible and it latches on to the railing of the top of the windshield, that is filled with snaps. And I sent the picture of Pete. So yeah. It doesn't make a good seal on top of this aluminum railing. And in fact, all it does, it looks like it scratches it. But was there a part or something, like some sort of gasket or grommet thing that went across that whole snap line?
Because aren't there two hinges there that hold that on the Mark IV Sprite, Alan?
2 hinges.
Aren't there 2 hinges on either side of the convertible top that attaches to the top of the windscreen?
Yeah, 2 clamps.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'm talking about across the whole line of the top of the windshield, right? Is that, by the time you bring that over, you bring it over your head, that it's that bar it's on the convertible part, and it's
Okay.
filled with snaps. It's got to snap every 4 inches.
Bruce Kitchen, you've got a,
Yeah, Alan, are you confusing snaps with pop rivets perhaps? There's a metal bar when the top is attached with glue. There's an aluminum rail that is pop riveted onto the metal frame that's part of the top, the top mechanism. And that bar has a channel in it that holds a rubber gasket, and it's a rubber gasket that goes between the top of the windshield and is attached to that aluminum bar that's pop riveted on to hold the vinyl top. Now this is on mine's a 65, a Mark III Sprite, and that's the way the joint between the top of the windshield and the top is sealed, is with a rubber gasket that is slid into a spline, if you will. There's an aluminum track.
So it doesn't sound quite like that. And maybe I could just, Pete, can I just share my screen?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So let me just see if I can get the.
Because I couldn't find your email.
That's okay. So let's share that one. If the technology works, let me guys know if you can see my
about
screen.
to. There you go. We got it.
Okay. So can you guys see that? Is it big enough?
Yes. Yeah, we can
So
see
you
it.
see this line? You see this row of they look to Bruce. They look like to me like snaps, not versus pop rivets. I mean, I kind of know.
Yeah, they sure do.
No, yeah. So this is how it came, right? So this goes across the windshield, and I'll click that one.
So it won't seal properly, Alan, because of those snaps?
Yeah. You see the windshield, the top of the windshield, right?
But
So
you're getting a new convertible top, right?
Well, I am now because I tore it. So that's a different problem, and we're not going to go there. That's
Well, no, I think the problem is that doesn't sound like that convertible top's proper. Correct.
Okay.
I think you're missing a gasket, Alan.
So was there a gasket? Oh, so where did the gasket go? On top of the roof, the on top of the windshield frame? Or
I believe.
Yes, well, you showed that frame earlier. Alan. Show your windscreen frame again.
Right here?
Yeah, that's where the gasket goes. But it's held, but it's onto the top. It's on the convertible top there, but it seals there with those 2 clamps.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the
Yeah.
So this gasket goes all the way across.
Yes.
There's a gasket that stays with the top.
Oh, it stays with the top.
Yeah. It doesn't go in the windscreen frame. It goes on the top frame.
Okay, but that's cool. But then does that mean the way it stays with the top is it snaps into these snaps?
I don't think those snaps should be there.
I don't think those snaps belong there, Alan.
Right.
Oh, okay.
You get a mongrel.
Oh, you don't want to know this story. I'm pretty sure this car was stolen at one point. This is
some kind of fasteners, but they're not snaps. I don't know what they are.
Yeah. When you get your new convertible top, it's going to fit beautifully.
Okay. We'll keep moving forward.
You have the other side of the snaps on your rail in the front. It looked like there were protrusions there also.
Yeah.
Sorry, go back to this guy here.
Yes.
Well, these are screws. And these are embedded in. So this is perfect. Yeah, everything's flush here. You can see the scratches. You can kind of see the scratches from those snaps. And the guy told me when I bought it, he says, "Listen, when you drive this car in the rain, you're gonna get wet." I said, "Okay, well now I know why. Because there's no,
the top's wrong."
Yeah.
You're missing a piece, Alan. You're missing an aluminum bar that attaches, that holds the vinyl on the roof, and that bar has a track in it that a rubber gasket engages in. And that rubber gasket squishes when you pull those clamps down.
Yep.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, boy.
If you go to the Moss catalog,
Yeah.
you'll probably see there's what this gentleman's speaking about is this bar that goes across that the gasket will go into.
Okay, okay, perfect.
I,
Now,
I
listen,
can't figure out why those snaps are on there at all.
yeah, I don't think the guy whoever put the roof on probably didn't know either. Okay, that's cool. So let's keep moving on. I don't want to use up all my time.
Are you going to put the new top on yourself?
No.
No, I'm going to bring a bunch of beer to Pete's house and see if I can talk him into doing it. I don't know. To be honest with you, I'm willing to tackle a lot of jobs, but that one one of the mechanics that I took the car to recently says he knows a upholstery guy. I might be able to
Do it on a nice, hot, sunny day and out in the sun so it stretches.
Ah, yes. Okay. I think I heard that tip last time we were
good,
on the
yeah.
call. That's a good tip. Okay, so the door locks on this car, the keys, nothing matched. So I bought the kit to change all the locks, right? Which means I have to take the door cards off, I assume. That's my first question.
Yeah.
Do I have to take the door cards off to get to this key tumbler?
Let's ask another question. When was the last time anyone locked their Healy?
Oh boy, you're killing me.
Door locks.
Just the trunk, just the trunk.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah, I replaced that. Okay, so let's just ask the generic question because I also have to fix one of these door handles. How do I take this handle off? This windshield winder. How does that come off? I don't see any visible screws to take it out. Any tips?
Oh, yeah. If it's like the big Heelys, you kind of push it back behind, you push back behind there, and then there's a pin inside that you push out with a pointed tool. And when the pin falls out, the whole thing will come out.
It's a spring-loaded collar. Right where you're pointing right there is spring-loaded. If you push that in, you'll see the pin. You can push it out.
Okay, you push it in or you pull it out?
Push it in.
Push it in, yeah.
Push it in,
You
okay.
push in your door, the soft door panel behind the collar, and
Okay,
then create a space between the collar and the door. And then you
Okay.
can see the pin in there.
I got you. Okay.
Don't lose the pin.
It's a tapered pin, so when you put it back, the tapered end will go in the hole easily.
Okay.
Hopefully.
All right.
Yeah.
Hopefully. All right.
Right.
Hopefully that's true. All right, cool. Thank you. That's awesome. The next, it turns out I've spent a lot of time on the electrical on this car, but I did get it working, got the horns working. Very strange situation in that in order to get the horn working, I had to pull up. There's a steering wheel shaft, which is about a 5-foot piece of rod, which I'm pretty sure is lethal, going to be, could be lethal. It's not a collapsible, steering wheel shaft.
Not on sprites.
And that goes through another, housing. And in order for me to get everything to line up, I had to pull that housing up, kind of adjusting. So underneath the where your feet are, there's a clamp, and you adjust it, you pull that housing up, and that's great. But now, so that housing kind of came out from where your feet from. I think it used to go all the way to the
Well, you get a
footboard.
U-bolt that holds the steering column up into the chassis.
Agreed.
Yep.
So that's still
firewall.
there. So I brought it up. Now what happens is that housing has play in it, because it's no longer. When I got the car, they had it going all the way to the hole in the floorboard.
There's a gasket that goes around that, Alan. Again, you go under the Moss, there's a gasket you hold in there for that steering column as it goes through the firewall.
Yeah. Yeah. See, this is the
only
thing.
other
It doesn't go to the
The
firewall.
only other adjustment you have is all the way down at the bottom where it goes to your steering shaft, comes right out of your steering assembly. There's a bolt there on the end, and there's a threaded rod that comes out. If you loosen that up, you could move your steering column up and down a little bit right there as well, if you need to make an adjustment. But that one, you want to check to make sure that that's tight there.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I get that part. If that comes off when you're driving, it's going to be a bad day. But this is the two part. I guess Bruce is going to help me out, because he's going to send me another one of these U joints, which as far as I can tell, this thing came out of the whatever where your feet are, that's the firewall, I guess, right? It
Well,
came out.
It's above
It's
it's
out.
above your lap, right?
What's above my left? Sorry?
Well, where the U-bolt is, they're coming through the firewall
Yes.
to hold that. Yes.
That's there's
It's
only
not at
one.
it's not at your feet.
No. What I'm trying to say though is the tube that holds, right? Which is
Yeah,
the
the steering
larger,
column.
the steering column tube that holds. That tube, when I got the car, went all the way through to the firewall, so that it had 2 points of contact, one in the firewall and one in the U-bolt. Now, since I pulled it forward toward me, it's no longer it's like 4 inches from the firewall, so it's flopping.
You thought that's the way it was, but actually where it was touching down in the firewall at the very bottom where your feet are, it was maybe just touching there, but it's not fixed in any way there. So when you moved it moved it forward and backward, and it's still not fixed there. It's only fixed down at the very bottom, where it reaches the steering rack, and then at the U up above where you're, above. Those are the only 2 points where it's fixed.
Okay.
So
So I guess I was just asking
down,
because
your feet may have come out. It's just visually it came out. But like Pete was saying, there's a gasket that goes down there that would make that seal so that no air comes through there.
yeah, so that's called a dust boot. I got that. I bought that part.
Right.
That does, but that's not going to get me. That's not going to get me structural, because right now the wheel actually will move because the inner rod is rocking inside that big
Oh.
shaft. And now so here's my solution. I can't figure out any other way to do this. Bruce.
Boy, it sounds like Bruce knows your problem.
Well,
Yeah.
he's got a part for me. He's got another U-bolt for me, and I'm going to put that on.
Hey, listen, the other thing you haven't talked about, Alan, is that
Bruce, you broke up.
has a grommet or a washer, so there's 2 felt sleeves inside that tube that support the steering shaft inside the tube. So they're felt. You look in the Moss catalog and they're in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Felt bushings.
I think even with those felt tubes though, that inner tube without a second point is going to rock. It is going to rock. So I'm going to mount. That's that part you're going to send me, Bruce. I'm just going to mount another one in there. So now that outer tube's going to have 2 points of contact in the upper firewall or in my lap, and then we'll go. At least it won't rock. I got that going. I brought it up.
Yeah, it's not going to rock, Alan, if you have the 2 felt gaskets in there. It really becomes one unit.
Yes.
You don't need to have another U-bolt on there.
Where do the felt gaskets go? Up at the top by the steering wheel, or down at the bottom?
No, there's one on each end of
Okay, one on each end.
that tube.
Right. That'll keep it from moving then.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. I understand what you're saying.
You would have to remove the whole assembly to put gaskets on both ends of that tube.
Oh yeah, boy. What he wants to do is go back and forth, but getting that piece off the spline at the bottom is not going to be easy to pull it out.
Just get the bolt out in it.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm not sure what it's like on Mark IVs, but on Bug Eyes, it's easy.
Okay.
You have to take the bolt out because the bolt goes through a groove that's in the spline, the male spline shaft coming out of your rack.
Okay.
So you have to take that bolt all the way out in order to get that thing to pull the female end of that to pull off.
Okay. All right. Okay. I know exactly what you're talking about. That sounds great. I know my time's almost up, so I'm going to shift relays. So this car didn't really come through with any relays.
They never did.
Right. And so I've
2
been
fuses.
It's got 4 actually, 3 actually, because there's a 4th you can have as an extra. The question I want to ask though is, so I got these horns. The car came with 2 extra hella horns because the guy thought the horn wasn't working, and they have a relay. So relays, I just put relays for the front lights in, because the car also didn't have the high-low beam
foot switch, right? So I put relays for that. For the horn, do you need relays in this car? Or is it just a good practice to do it? These are the Bosch relays I'm talking about, those 4-pin Bosch relays.
Again, these never had relays, Alan.
Okay, so it's an upgrade. Anything I do at this point, if it still works, it's an upgrade?
It's a modification.
Okay, well, resto mod. All right. Okay. All right. And then how do you tell, is there an easy way to tell if the battery is draining when the car's turned off? Like, did somewhere you have a leak, an electrical leak, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, just disconnect one of your battery terminals and put an amp meter between the battery post and the terminal with everything turned off. And if it's reading that you have a current flow, then you know you have a drain somewhere.
Okay.
What kind of radio do you have in it? No, I'm serious. Do you have
No. Yeah.
something with a clock in it or?
The answer is yes. It's a little Chinese half radio thing, although it's a brand new radio.
That's going to take, if it's going to clock in it, it's going, in a memory, it's going to take current.
Fair enough. Yeah. But I don't, that's that. Maybe that's a, I don't know. I'm just trying to test it because and the reason I'm asking is because the battery doesn't seem to hold me charged very much. And that was one thing I just want to check.
Well, do you know that generator's working properly?
I don't know that, actually. I don't know that. But I'm gonna go. I'm resto modding up to an alternator next, so I'm not gonna spend a lot of. I already have the alternator in the box. So I saw how people do that, and it seems like that's a better play. Because one thing I noticed is that when you turn the car on at low idle, the headlights are dimmer, and then once it starts revving up, the headlights brighten up, right? So maybe it's working. I don't know if that. But I think Bob,
generator system works.
Yeah. And that's what, when you read about going on alternators, apparently that's one of the benefits is that at lower speeds, right? The electrical generation is better kind of thing. All right. So last question is, so we took it out this Friday, we ran around on Saturday, and the car, as long as it's revving it's okay, but it stalls. It stalls when you first step on the gas. So originally I thought, okay, the problem is because there's a manual choke for the car, but when I got it, didn't have it. Bruce gave me a cable for the manual choke. So now that's there. I pull that out, it starts up great. But I'm just, the question really is, this is a side draft Weber carburetor. And I guess the question is do those things need to be rebuilt very often? Type of thing? Is it, it was stalling? I guess there's probably a lot of reasons you can, clogged filters, pressure at the gas, from the sender, all kinds of stuff.
So Alan, if you pull that choke wire,
Yeah.
in have it out a little bit, will it stop it from stalling?
No. It starts it. Before I
No,
couldn't
understand,
even.
but what if you choke it even when the car is warm? Because you had it stalling when you come to a stop.
Not exactly. It definitely improved it. I can tell you right now, I couldn't even drive it. You'd have to, when I first got the car, you had to let it run for like 5 minutes before you try to take off because it would just die without the choke.
But that's a Weber.
Yeah, it just would die.
They're gonna be hot.
So now I can, okay. So that was my first hard lesson. So now I get it running. That's all good. But as it heats up, actually, it just starts getting flaky. And, and so when you give it gas, and I've been trying it with the choke in, without it in, and it's warm, it's definitely warm. It just dies, it's just, so you have to feather it. So here I'm like driving the thing, I'm heel and toeing the whole way, just to try to, if you're, God help me, if I'm on the hill, it was, you got to try to keep the engine revs up to 2000 RPMs just to try to take off. So
try turning your idle up a little bit.
I haven't done that. So I guess maybe that's.
Yeah. So when it's what is it idle at? Did you idle at 1,000 RPMs, Alan?
Yeah. Yeah.
mean, that should be fine, but
That's what that's what's really bizarre. Is it, so it's, and I'd be pulling to a stop sign and I could feel the engine die. And I just would leave it, I put it in second gear and restart the car up just to get it to, and then you
we'll
pull
take
up.
it, put it in neutral. If it's gonna die, put it in neutral.
Okay. Okay. That's another option. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I mean, and anytime you got your foot on the clutch, it's putting drain on the engine too.
yeah, that I discovered. I mean,
So get it in neutral and let it run free.
I don't know if I can, but see, the problem is my wife can't drive it.
Well, I know, but
I'm trying to get the wife in it. So I can't have it stalling like at the, you're in the middle of an intersection and the damn thing stalls. It's dangerous. It's really kind of dangerous because I was trying to pull across traffic and it stalls. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to be good. So I have to solve that problem. And so one of the recommendations was to rebuild the carburetor, and I just didn't know, you don't start at that level, do you?
Again, I don't have any experience with Weber side draft. I do have Weber downdraft. I used one for 20 years on my green bug eye. Then I switched to SUs.
Okay.
And I did have to do a mild rebuild on that carburetor, but I've never worked on a side draft. They're really built for, racing applications.
This is a side draft?
Yes.
Yeah, it may never run right unless you get a wide open throttle.
Yeah, it's not a downdraft, Rick. It's a side draft.
Yeah, they're not really meant for, as Peter said, they're really not good down low. They're usually best at wide open throttle, especially if they haven't been set up properly. What size is it?
1275, you mean the motor?
No, is it a 40 or 45 Weber?
How would I know that? Is it
Should
on
be on
mark?
there. Should be on the
Okay.
top of the Weber.
Okay.
It should either say 40 DCOE or 45. And 45 is probably too big for a stockish motor.
Oh, okay.
And if
So-
it's too big, then you're gonna stall down low.
So if that was the scenario, then the best recommendation would be to just downgrade it to SUs or something like that. I'm not going to race it. It does haul ass though, man. It does. When you get it up the revs, man,
You've answered all your questions right
I
there.
guess.
Sounds like a Weber.
All right, guys. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Alan, I still got a picture of your door here.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Um,
Okay, let me stop
I have a
sharing.
I have a question. Everybody else has one.
Go ahead.
Did the 67 BJ8 come with a brake booster? Or is that an add-on?
It was stock.
It was stock?
Yes.
Okay, because my brake booster, I think, is shot because I believe the brakes come up and you go to push them down and it's hard as a rock. And I bled them 5 times. The fluid had synthetic in it for a few years while it was sitting. You think it could have screwed up the diaphragms in the brake booster? Hello?
Yeah. Yeah. So Rich, so brake boosters, do they start those with the phase 2 BJ8s, Bob? Or is it just 66 and 7?
I think you're right. I think it was phase 2 that they started with.
No.
Okay.
My
Robert, do you have a booster in your phase 1?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So maybe not then. Okay. Anyone with a BJ7 of brake booster?
They
Not
were an
stock.
option on a BJ7.
Okay. So the BJ8s. Okay.
Okay, I'm running it without the booster now. I guess it's, the brake will be okay. I haven't run it yet, but I just I bypassed the booster for now. And I suppose the brake will still work. They'll work a little harder, right?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't have a booster on my phase 1 BJ8, Rich.
okay.
I'm running without it.
I have another question. I have positive ground and I'm looking for a radio. Who sells radios where I can get a CD player for, in a regular radio, AM, FM for a positive ground system?
Go to Retro Radio on the web, and there's a company that makes older looking radios, and they'll have some with CD players in them,
They will?
and they'll make them either positive or negative earth.
Okay. All right, that's good.
You're gonna pay more than getting your tachometer rebuilt,
Yes, probably.
probably
But-
$1,000.
Is there a way to take my negative ground radio that I have right now and install it in the positive ground car if I use fuses and don't touch any
No.
metal?
No, don't try to do that. My recommendation would be, there's a guy down, I use him all the time. He's down in Pennsylvania. You'd send him your radio and he will convert it with a polarity converter so that it'll work in your car as a, you'll wire it up just regularly and it will work with a positive earth car.
Is he gonna put in an inverter in it?
Yes.
Because you can buy an inverter online, but I don't know if it's the same thing.
Well, I don't know where he gets the ones he puts in for me. But
Yeah.
he can make your positive earth radio negative, or he can make your negative earth radio positive.
Do you know who that is?
Yes, I'm gonna look him up.
Okay.
You'll find it because I sent it to Pete. You'll find it in the vendors section. on
Yeah,
the-
under the members only section on the website, Rich,
Yep,
in the members only section is HEALEY is the password.
yep.
And I posted it in there. Yeah, I don't recall the guy's name right now, but Bob did send that to me.
Okay, and my last thing, the guy I bought my car from was, have you ever heard of Forza? Forza? It's a car company. And this guy, this branch of this car company, I think it's out of New York or something like that. He's in Gaylordville, Connecticut. Now, I called him the other day and to ask him a question about the paperwork. And he said, by the way, Rich, I've got another 67 that just came in. BJ8. It's a barn find out of New York. Of course, I have no use for it because I have one now. But if anybody's interested, I can give you his name and address here if somebody knows somebody who's in the club, maybe.
So, what we do, Rich, is on Dutcha posts on our Healy exhaust notes out there, if anyone's looking for cars or, want
Okay.
ads or anything like that.
All right.
Barn finds are not the most desirable because you're going to
Yeah.
spend more money to restore it than it's worth than what it's going to be worth when it's done.
Well, I don't know how bad it is or how good it is.
I understand.
But he bought it from this guy. He didn't tell me. I could find out if somebody was interested. Or somebody could call him. Is Peter at Forza up in Gaylordsville, Connecticut? Forza. So, anyway, by the way, Bob, did you find what I needed?
The radio guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, his name is Mike Hagan,
Spell last name?
Hagan,
Hagan.
215 547
547
7145.
7145.
Mike
Okay.
Hagan, right?
Yes.
Mike Hagan, yes, in
Correct.
Pennsylvania. Okay, that's good. I'm all done.
Rich,
Yes,
the only thing I would add is I have a BJ8 with a negative ground radio from Retro Radio, and I do use an inverter that is on a toggle switch. So
Yes.
I simply, if I'm going to use the radio, flip the toggle switch on, and then I'm in. It works. The only downside, of course, is that you can't leave any settings on the radio because every time you shut it off, it gets completely shut off.
Right. Do you have fuses for safety?
I believe there's one inline fuse on the power wire to the radio. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that radio comes with an inline fuse.
All right. Okay, thank you.
But it does work. It's just, you just lose all your settings when you shut it down.
Right. Yeah, because people are telling me, be very careful. You're going to burn out your wiring system.
Yeah.
If
No,
you're-
it's completely, it separates it completely, so you're okay with that.
Well, the other thing too, I was wondering if you have a negative ground radio and you can't connect it to your battery because your battery is positive grounded, to put a separate battery in, like a lawnmower battery, and then run it directly to that battery and run it off the battery.
Mhm.
Could you do that and not touch any metal on the
Right.
car? What do you think of that?
There's the problem, not touching any metal on the car. How are you going to mount it on the console, which is metal?
Well,
And,
you use a piece of wood first, then you mount it to the wood.
okay,
Technically, you could get away with that. If you took 2 batteries right from your radio, 2 wires from your radio and put it on your battery, positive and negative, that would work. Yep.
A separate battery.
No, you could go right to your battery you have in the car, positive and negative, and it would work. As long as you don't touch that unit to your car anywhere,
Right.
you don't
Okay.
need a separate battery.
Okay.
Be very careful about your antenna.
Oh, that's the other thing. That can't touch either.
Right.
Rich, I think you should get the radio converted. No, seriously. I mean,
I know.
you're creating. The Healeys have a beautiful exhaust note, so you really don't even need your radio.
I was gonna say, does anybody listen to a radio?
No.
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 No, nobody listens to a radio. If you're driving, you can't hear it with the top down anyway.
I got a whole bunch of CDs that I can't use.
Nobody uses see. Hey, Rich, do you have any 8 tracks too?
No, but I was just up the
Rick.
secondhand store, and the guy had loads of them up there.
Rich, it's called Spotify.
Yeah.
It's called Spotify.
Sing.
buddy.
Okay.
Sing. No one can hear you anyway. Just sing.
All right. Okay, you got me.
Rick, I have a beautiful AM radio in my car that is positive grounded. I got with the car that used to, every time I turned it on, all it had played was 60s tunes.
Yeah.
Switched my car over to negative ground. I never switched over the radio. And for some reason, I don't miss it. But it looks really
Nobody
good.
can hear a radio.
Yeah, it
Right.
looks great.
You got that right, Richard.
Okay.
So, Rich, hopefully we didn't pick on you too much tonight. Are you okay?
I'm all done.
Yeah, Rich, I helped put a Healy out that had caught fire from a radio that they had put in it up in Canada one night.
Really,
Yeah.
Kelly?
Well, I burned my system out once already, and it cost me $600. So this is a new system in here now, and I don't want to burn it out again.
Yeah.
So Robert's got that new green bug eye right behind him. Now that he knows how to post his things on the Zoom, everything. Boy, Robert, you're learning everything. So you want to give us some updates as it relates to your transmission?
Yeah, sure. Well, this is a new car for me. I just had it about a month, and it's a nice car, except I'm trying to resolve all the issues. It had plenty of issues that I'm well aware of. And one of them is the tranny. It doesn't shift, it's very vague. And when I first got it, it was the most vague. Shifter was all over the place. And so right away I realized the shift lever was the wrong lever. It was for a smooth case tranny. It's got a rib case tranny in it. So I put the rib case lever in, and that helped quite a bit. But then I replaced the bushing, which is underneath the lever, and this little spring. And then there's a little bushing that comes in from the side with the spring, and that tightened it up quite a bit. And that feels much better now. And it's not all over the place, but still, third is very vague. If I don't push it exactly in the right position, it'll grind. And you know, a little to the right, a little to the left, it grinds. And maybe even if I pull it back to fourth, if I don't pull it back right where I know it is, it's going to grind there too. So I don't know. You know, I've been doing a lot of researching online, you know, asking questions, and people are suggesting that the front selector lever bush is the last moving part here, and that's the one I need to replace. And so I learned that part is NLA. Mostly it's no longer available, but there is one guy that makes it. He had some special engineering company make them up, and so they are available. And so I bought one of these little bushes, and I guess that's going to be, I'm hoping that's going to solve my problem. Now the issue is that you know, I got to pull the engine and the whole engine and tranny just to put in this little bush, because it's one lever down from you know, inside the tranny. I can just pull the top cover off on the tranny and get at it right there. And so when I'm done, I lack some confidence that will solve my problem. And maybe there's some issue in the tranny, and I don't want to have to pull the engine twice. So I don't want to have to put it back in, you know, and then find out that it's not solved. So that's where I'm at. And I kind of appreciate some feedback on that.
Have you thought about taking it down to Quantum, the transmission, when you pull the engine transmission, and have John Esposito go through that, Robert?
Well, that's not a bad idea. I've been thinking about that. While I pull it out, yeah, take it to somebody and have them look at it. That would be the right guy, would be to Quantum, huh?
Yes. Well, I mean, does anyone know, does he do Sprite gearboxes as well as Big Healy boxes? Does anyone know?
No.
I know he's certainly the Big Healy guy. I'm not sure if he does Sprite boxes as well.
He does MGs, he does
them all?
Triumphs, he does all the British boxes, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Yep.
Who is that works on transmissions?
So his name is John Esposito at Quantum Motors or Quantum Transmission.
Mechanics.
Quantum what?
Mechanics.
Yeah.
In Connecticut. And he's again, go to our vendor section on the website in the members only section. John Esposito's in there too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to pulling the engine out. It'll give me a chance to, you know, clean it up and resolve all the little issues in the engine compartment. You know, stuff's put in the wrong places. I have some wrong gauges. I'm going to pull the dashboard off at the same time and get all the gauges straightened out. There's no windshield wipers on the car, so I'm going to put those on. I've been collecting parts. You know, it's become quite a project, but I'm really enjoying it because I just retired also about a month ago. And so it's a great project, a nice car to work on. And I think that the leftover projects are just the ones I want, you know. But
and those you may know, Robert had an absolutely gorgeous cherry red bug-eye that he sold about 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, my Big Healy 3000 is like a concours car. When I got it 35 years ago and only had 18,000 miles on it, you know, I didn't have to do any restoration to it. And I took it to concours right away. And a few years later, I took it again. I got a silver concours on that. So I haven't had any parts hanging around. You know, I don't collect them. And then I bought this bug-eye about maybe 10 years ago, and it was the same thing. It was a nice original car. I didn't get parts with it, and all I had to do is kind of finish it up a little bit and, you know, and keep it original. There was no decision about anything. So this car here is 1275. It's got disc brakes. It's got tube shocks in the back, and you know, they did good body work. They did a nice interior. They did great suspension work and all of that. And a lot of upgrades are already done, but a lot of finish work with somebody of a sensibility of a Austin-Healey didn't go at it, and they left, you know, off things like wipers in the heater and stuff like that I want to put back. So you know, it's a good project car. I'm really enjoying it. But yeah.
So in Connecticut, you don't need to have cars inspected, Robert?
No.
Yeah. Well, it's lucky you don't live in Massachusetts. Because if you don't have a windshield washer, it's gonna fail. Never mind the windshield wipers.
You know, we were talking about windshield washers. You know, this car doesn't have them, and I don't want to add them because I don't really need that. You know, in this car, it's okay to leave it off. So, but I do have a hole in my dashboard, and I got to put something in there. I'm going to take the dashboard off. I'm going to recover it with black vinyl because it's painted right now, and it's not painted perfectly. You know. So, but I got to do something with that hole. And I was thinking about putting a, an outlet so I can recharge my devices there, like a lighter socket. But I think all the lighter sockets are 1-inch hole, and this socket is the one that's in the dash is 7/8 of an inch. So I don't know. I don't want to drill it larger, and I don't know what to do with that hole. I could put up maybe some kind of a light there, because a map light that would look nice. I'm not sure how I'm going to resolve that yet, but I got to come up with something.
I welded mine up. My extra holes in my dash, I welded them up.
Just made it disappear.
Yep. Well, I wanted it original, so I welded it up.
Well, originally they all had holes there. I think.
No, not every hole. The extra holes, I welded up.
Oh, well, the washer unit is what I'm talking about. That we all have on our cars. It must have been a law in England that they have to have a washer unit.
No, yeah, I sell my washer. It doesn't work, but it's still there.
Yeah.
So
well, let's see here. I got a hole I got to fill, and the water bottle in the front that was for the washer, I converted that to an overflow bottle for my radiator, and that seems to work nice. Although I haven't got it quite down yet, because the bottle's a little tall and it's crimping the tube a little bit. But I think I'll resolve that at some point.
You could fill it full of vodka. Nobody would ever know.
I get the feeling that functionally the overflow washer bottle is an important thing on this car, because they kind of heat. It increases your capacity a little bit. I don't know if that's so. What do you think? You think that's so? That I'm actually gaining any cooling capacity by having an overflow bottle there?
I bet you're not. Not enough to worry about.
Yeah, I'm not spitting coolant on the ground every time I stop. So
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So Kelly, I see you're on. You want to get had some thoughts last month when we had this call. You want to give us some updates regarding your overdrive?
Well, if you'd like, I had an overdrive that was sticking in overdrive, and you couldn't get it out. Make a long story short, my car now has an access panel over on the passenger side that will let you get right into the levers, and will also let you put a coal chisel in there and hit the drum if you need to knock it loose. But it has been fixed. I talked to Bruce down at Healey Surgeons and put it up on jack stands, drained all the oil out, filled it with automatic transmission fluid, ran it for 4 to 5 minutes, kicking it in and out up on stands, drained it all real good and filled it back up with oil, and it runs like a champ, shifts in and out perfectly.
Wow. So it was Bruce's recommendation to run it with the automatic transmission fluid to clean it out, so to speak?
Absolutely. He said he'd done that on about 3 and it worked on all of them. So give it a try.
And so are you running straight 30 weight in the transmission now, Kelly?
Yeah, I'm back to what it's supposed to be in it. I'd have to go look, but it's straight, it's a straight weight now.
Okay. So what's this access panel again? Can you explain that?
Well, where you've got the little rubber thing you can take off so you can get to your dipstick?
Yep.
I now got 2 of them, one over on the passenger side, so I can get to the levers.
Wow. Okay. Now, this is what model Healey do you have, Kelly?
67 BJ8.
Okay, you BJ8. Okay.
Well,
Now,
what
can
did
you
it do? What did it do? Did it just, you're driving along and it wouldn't come out of overdrive?
Yeah, it'd stay in overdrive, and of course you've got to be a little careful about backing up. But it wouldn't come out, and I had changed the solenoid, and I'd done several things and all the things, and you'd get it to work for a little while, but it wouldn't work very long. And this trick with the ATF, I've run it a couple of months since then now, and knock on wood, I haven't had any trouble at all. It shifts in and out like a charm.
So can you get to that access panel on the passenger side without removing the console?
Sure, it's in the console, just like the one up top. I just cut a thing that fit it, just like the one that's on the top of the console, And now I can reach in and check the lever or anything I want to do, or even hammer on the hey Bob, what's the piece in the transmission where the braking plate for the overdrive, but you can hammer on that if it gets stuck.
It's the friction drum or the cone clutch. where the
Yeah,
cone
it's
clutch comes
it's
forward.
where the clutch freezes in there when you're in, and you can take a hammer and a screwdriver and whack it, and it'll turn loose. But it's much nicer to just reach up and pull the switch.
Well, good. Sounds like you get a nice solution there, Kelly.
Well, Bruce had a nice solution.
Well, well, he's not on the call, so you can take all credit, Kelly.
I think I wouldn't want to do that in case about 2 months from now, everything that's had ATF and it falls apart.
Okay. Any other questions tonight?
Well, I could bring another one up.
Go ahead, Robert.
I'm curious, my Sprite now has an electric fuel pump on it. So it's one of those fast spec, I don't know, whoever makes those,
Facet.
Facet, yeah.
Yep.
And it clicks away all the time. It's just constantly click, 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 click. So I'm not, I usually have those SU pumps in my other cars, and they click for a while and then they kind of stop and click real slow after a while. And this one's just constantly going. Second you turn the key. Is that an issue or is that just normal?
What they do, they just click all the time.
Okay.
Turn your radio up.
Yeah, get Rich's radio.
Not, pushing too much fuel or anything. It's just pumping away, and the car, the quantity just moderates itself to whatever it needs. It's something like that, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I've got 2 facet pumps in the most recent Bug Eyes I finished, Robert, and they're great. So in my other 3 with SUs, I have a facet as a backup.
Yeah. Yeah, my 3000, I have, the old SU, the big SU, and then I have a spare one, and I have them on the top, a spare Chinese one or whatever it is that, you buy at the local parts store, and a toggle switch. And, I'm happy I have those. They serve me well.
Are those switches, are those pumps on the 3000s unreliable?
Yes, not just the 3000s.
I'm sorry?
Any of them, any of those SU pumps.
They can be.
I've seen where they have some that pumps that say they sound like the regular ones, but they have a 2-stage to them. So if one doesn't work, the other does. Are those worthwhile?
I've never used one of those. I've seen them, but I use a backup pump. I use a backup facet.
You have 2 pumps on the online, and you switch on one if the other doesn't work?
Yep.
And what do you use for a backup?
Facet. F-A-S-E-T, facet.
F-A-C-E-T.
F-A-C-E-T, thank you. Thanks, Rick. I don't spell very well.
And what is that? Is it something you get online? Or?
Moss sells them. You can probably get them at Advanced Auto or Napa.
It's your local Napa store.
Yeah.
And I found it amazing that when you have 2 pumps, you put them in line, and one is either going to push fuel through the other one, or one's going to pull fuel through the other one, and either way it'll work when one's not running.
So the fuel is going through both pumps at the same time, but only one is pumping.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I understand. It seems to work.
Yeah, like Robert talks about, there's a toggle switch. You can flip back and forth between them. And I do that alternatively just to keep them both running.
That's important to do. If you only run it on one pump, the seals in the other pump will dry out and shrink. So you have to run them both, to keep them so that the gaskets stay lubricated. I know.
So it's best to have each pump on a switch and then switch back and forth?
Every once in a while.
I have them on one toggle switch and go back and forth.
Yeah.
Not 2 toggle switches, just one.
Well, you can buy a toggle switch that has on, off, and on going in different directions.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
I have a 2-speed toggle switch goes, just toggles between the two.
Oh, either one way or the other, and it
Yep.
doesn't turn off?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, that your three-way toggle switch that controls your two pumps also serves as a security device, because when you park, you put it in the middle position where neither pump works.
You've got a very good point. No, you're absolutely right, Robert. That's a very good point. Yep. I don't have that, but that's a good point.
Oh,
Yeah, mine just have 2 positions on the toggle switch.
Where do you hide it under the dash?
I do.
yeah, if somebody gets in it, it'll start up, but it'll only run for about a minute, and then it'll stop running. And that's good. That's just what you want.
That's a good idea. So you have 2 regular SU pumps?
No,
Or
one
just one SU pump and then the alternative?
facet. Yep.
That's right. Yeah, one of each.
Well, that way one's gonna work. The facet.
And when they quit is always at an inappropriate time, right?
It certainly can be.
Sure.
Are the pumps in the trunk?
No, you mean physically where the pumps are?
Yeah.
Up over the rear axles. Rear axle.
Oh, okay.
That
So
bulkhead
easy
over
to
the rear
get.
axle.
Yeah, it's in the wheel well, you take.
You gotta
off
keep your jump seat
the
loose.
pump.
Well, so Rich, that's assuming you have a 2+2 car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah, you don't. Oh.
Well, it doesn't work on the Sprites and doesn't work on hundreds. But yeah, that's where they are, Alan.
Okay.
So.
Well, my Sprite has my pump back there. Is it in trouble?
But can you get to the pump through your your
Back
cockpit?
my axle in my Sprite. Is that a problem?
Well, yeah, but you can't get to it from above. You have to go from underneath.
Right.
Yeah, that's what Rich was saying. Leave your jump seat loose so you can get to it.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If on 100 you don't have that, and obviously on your Sprite you don't have that either.
So you could beat on it with a hammer easily.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of people leave hammers in there so they can just tap against it in the back there.
They stop working. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So
I did that.
Pete, where do you mount your second pump? Back near the other one?
yeah, in parallel. They're within 3 inches of each other.
Can you use just
parallel, not in series, parallel?
They're in series.
Series, one after the other, right?
Yep. Yeah, running through one line to the next one.
Are you connecting with rubber hoses or are you using steel?
No,
or
that one has a
copper?
rubber hose between the two.
Rubber hoses?
And it's on rubber grommets, so it takes care of the vibration.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can take a picture and have that available for the next call.
If you can get under there, huh?
Well, I'm spoiled. I have a couple lifts.
Oh, nice.
So getting underneath not an issue.
So that sounds like it's a better plan. I was going to put a kill switch in, but sounds like a better. You really want to, if you want the redundancy, you do the 2 pumps and then put the switch in, like you said, in the middle. With a middle.
Yeah, you use a 3-way switch. The middle position is off, and then on is either to the right or to the left.
Yeah, I had never thought of that. It's a good idea, Robert.
And when you take the wheel off, you put your one pump right up to the left and the other one right there to the right. So you can connect them together, and they're both accessible.
Yeah, they're within 3 inches of each other. Yep, up in the bulkhead there. So Alan, you should probably put that in right after the Miata seat you're putting in there.
I was keeping that as a surprise for everybody.
No, you told us about that about 4 months ago.
I was hoping to forget it. It's coming. I got the seats already.
Yeah, I know. You told us that. That's great. So just as so our next call will be on the 12th of July. Rick's going to facilitate that. I'm going to be in Maui with my grandson and granddaughter. So I will not be here on the 12th, but Rick will be facilitating that call. Again, if anyone's interested, excuse me, but coming to Summit the 3rd week in September, We're up to 82 registrations. It's going to be the largest event we've had in decades. And if you are planning on coming, I would get your registration in promptly, because we're gonna a maximum of a 90, and we will be having an announcement out to all members in New England in the next week or so. So if anyone's interested in going, give you guys just a heads up as it relates to that. But I would get your registration in early for the third week of September. I don't know. I also in today's Boston Herald, there was an article about the Wayfinder, which is the hotel where we'll be staying, and a lot of good updates as it relates to that. Richard, who's on the call, is going to be giving us a profile as it relates to all the best places to eat in Newport. He and his wife Nancy are putting together a list for us for that. So it's going to be a great time. We have Donald Osborne will be our special guest on Wednesday, and as of yesterday, Nick Weller, who for 16 years in a row ran the concourse at Pebble Beach and is now running the Concours d'Elegance, will also be with us at Newport as our special guest. So we're going to have some, I think, some pretty interesting folks that know their way around some special projects and special Healeys. So, Rich, does your wife have a question?
My wife does.
I have a comment, yeah. We go to Newport every other weekend all summer long. So if you need any help with dining suggestions, we'd be happy to let you know.
Great. Well, if you be, yeah. So Richard,
Yeah, we just
you guys
came
know
back
each
from
other?
Newport. What?
So do you guys know Richard?
Richard Neville?
No,
Richard.
no. I've never heard him called Richard Neville.
Okay. No.
Richard, you want to
Richard
introduce
Abernathy.
yourself?
Hi, I'm Richard Abernathy.
Don't know him.
No.
He lives in Newport.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he does?
Oh, well, then that's fine. Then I guess.
Where do you
Oh,
guys
he
You
live?
probably-
would know more about it than
He
we
probably
would.
knows then.
Where do you guys live?
In Connecticut, in Portland, Connecticut.
Okay. Oh, well, do you know Judd Perkins? Oh, no, he's in Salem. He's in Salem. Okay, so you're with Wayne Carini in Portland, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Wayne.
Do you?
Not much. Just I know him. I've talked to him before. We
well,
grew up in Glastonbury together. So
Okay, well, we're trying to get Wayne. So in 2022, we're having the 70th anniversary of the Austin-Healey. And so if you have any, Rich, if you have any pull with Wayne, we'd love to have Wayne be our special guest there, and autism will be our charity for 2022.
oh,
So-
I think does his son have autism?
His daughter.
Daughter.
Yeah, his daughter. And so if you happen to have any pull with Wayne, we'd love to have him be our special guest for Enclave 2022.
When and where's that going to be?
It's the third week in September in the Poconos at the Kalahari. So again, go onto our website under enclave2022.org, and it has all the details.
Okay.
Okay.
So I wrote both Summit and Enclave are the third week in September, a year apart.
Yeah, we're already signed up.
Great.
I don't know if
Summit,
the
right?
hotel, would the hotel be open by then?
Oh yeah, it's been open for quite some time. It's all been recently renovated too. I think Bob Britton, who's on the call, was just at that hotel last week.
Yeah, because we tried to call a few days ago and got no answer. So it's kind of funny.
I drove through there yesterday, coming out of, Richard and I were together at Fort Adams yesterday for the Cars and Coffee for the Audrain Museum, and no, the hotel was packed. You maybe check that number, Rich, because the hotel was bustling yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hotel told us they're running we were down there
Week ago.
last weekend, and in early noon, they're running at 75 to 80% capacity right now, and it's not even summer yet. So someone will answer the phone.
Well, you know what? Well, I don't know about September though, but right now there's trouble getting reservations at restaurants because they're so crowded.
Absolutely.
September might be different.
We were told that reservations are critical, even at the hotel, at at Waypoint, if you plan to eat there,
Wayfinder, Bob.
oh, excuse me, Wayfinder.
Wayfarer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
don't-
just came back. We were just in Newport this weekend and we just came back.
Don't
this
go
morning.
Google Waypoint.
And,
Yeah, they even recommended that reservations be made at their restaurant in the hotel.
yeah, I have never seen it this crowded in June before.
No,
It's
Oh,
crazy.
Everyone's been cooped up for 15 months.
That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So, okay. Well, if there's nothing else, hope you guys have a great rest of your week and hope we can see each other shortly. I know, Rick, do you want to give an update as it relates to this weekend out at the Collins Foundation?
Sure, this weekend at the Collins Foundation in Stowe/Harvard, Mass. They will be doing the Tanks, Wings and Wheels weekend. And we have been a couple of times before as a club. They put on a great show. It's a great museum, and they'll be running some of their World War II tanks around. I'm not sure that they're going to have any of the planes flying, although you will have access to their museum of World War II and earlier planes, as well as a number of classic cars. It's a good time. We have a car corral. We are sharing with the British Motor Car Club of New England. We'll probably have at this point about 20 cars there altogether. You're welcome to come and be there anywhere between 9 and 10 o'clock so they can have space for us there. Just go online. I sent out an email today. Directions are on there, and it's a very nice museum. And Judd had mentioned it's a nice thing to bring the kids or grandkids or great grandkids, depending on how old you are. It'd be a good time. So please join us.
Don't forget your earplugs.
The tanks? Or is that for Rich's radio?
That's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you all. Hope you enjoyed this evening, and Rick and Bob and Ted will lead you on the 12th. So sorry I'm going to miss it, but I'll be in sunny Maui, Hawaii.
Have a good time.
Okay.
Good night.
Take care, guys.
Good night. Good night.
Thanks,
all.
Peter. Welcome. Thanks, Nick.